AFR Talk. Great to have you in the conversation today. 888-589-8840. Number to call if you want to join the program. By the way, we're going to have Steve Lonegan on in the second hour at a quarter after. He's running for the Senate in New Jersey against Cory Booker. Cory Booker has a lot of celebrity backing. He's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of name recognition. And yet Steve Lonegan, coming basically out of nowhere, the margin was 2-1 when this race started. Now it's shrunk to about 12 points, and the gap is closing. And Steve Lonegan has run as an unapologetic social conservative, unapologetic fiscal conservative, and he has waged an aggressive campaign against Cory Booker. He's gone right after him. I mean, he's taken the gloves off. He's turned it into an alley fight, and, I mean, he hasn't been unfair. Don't misunderstand me. He hasn't been unfair, but he has highlighted the problems with Cory Booker's governing record. He hasn't been afraid to go right at him. And so we'll talk to Steve Lonegan at about an hour from now, in this segment, an hour from now, and see how he explains what is happening in that campaign. Now, you know, it's interesting to me, and let's grab clip 8, Jeff. Let's get that ready to roll, and clip 1, Rob. It's interesting to me that the way the left, you know, they blather and they bloviate all the time about the separation of church and state, and you can't drag the Bible into politics, and we've got to keep the church separate from the state, and we can't have a theocracy in America. We can't have people forming their public policy based on the Bible. That's a theocracy. We're never going to have that. We can't have that. That's bad. Not going to do it. You guys have to sit down and shut up and stop talking about the Bible all the time. We can't let you do it. It's wrong. There's a separation of church and state. But now listen to these two legislators. And Rob, let's start with clip 1. Let's start with yours. This is Sheila Jackson Lee, I believe, talking to Karen Finney on MSNBC on the whole food stamp issue. Let's listen.
They can take care of their kids and live the American dream. SNAP helps people do that, and so this was very mean. And as I said on the floor, many people on the other side who voted for this, they're people of faith, and they go to church on Sunday and they pray. Yet here on Thursday, what did they do? They moved to cut and take away food from hungry people.
Well, and it did seem that the Pope would agree with you that that is a bit mean-spirited.
All right, so there is the host of MSNBC weighing in, speaking for the Pope. The Pope would agree that this is a mean-spirited thing. Now, realize what these people are talking about, what the Sheila Jackson Lee is talking about. I mean, on the surface, it sounds compassionate. And what the Republicans are doing sounds mean. They're taking food stamps away from families. Well, what they did is there's $80 billion in the current budget for food stamps. They cut it to $76 billion, cut $4 billion out of that. What is that? 4 out of 80, that's like 120. It's a 5% reduction. I mean, how many people in this listening audience have had to adapt to a 5% reduction in income? But anyway, what you have to do is look at the bigger picture of the dynamics here, because the way that food stamps get funded is the government comes under the threat of incarceration or some other form of punishment, fines, and they take money out of your wallet. It's not voluntary on your part. You don't agree to that. That's not a decision that you make or even get to make. The government makes that for you. They come and take money out of your wallet. And then they give that money to other people that you don't know, you've never met. They may be people that are completely irresponsible. I mean, there may be a reason why they're in the situation that they're in, and free money is just going to enable them to continue to develop this habit of dependency instead of self-reliance. So they give it to people that you don't even know. So here is a program that is funded by legalized theft. When the government comes and takes money from you that they have no right to take. And remember, the government has the right to tax us for things like national defense and law enforcement. They've got the right to do that biblically and constitutionally. But when it comes to a lot of other issues, including every welfare program that we've got going, there is no moral authorization for that. In fact, it's flatly unconstitutional. You can't do that constitutionally because it is not one of the functions of government according to Article 1, Section 8. There's a lot of things in there that we're told the government can do. They can punish pirates. They can print money. They can build post offices and post office roads. They can set rules for the military. They can set rules for immigration. All these things they can do. But there's nowhere in there where the central government is authorized to be involved in any kind of welfare program whatsoever. So what that means is this is just robbery. It's burglary. It's theft. It's plunder under color of law. It's just legalized plunder. And if you start thinking about it that way, what about the 8th commandment, thou shalt not steal? Is it right when government does it, when they take money they've got no right to? No, that's not right. That's just wrong. That's immoral, and it's unethical. So the root of this whole food stamp problem is a profoundly immoral thing. And then the second thing about this deal, trying to turn this into a socialism deal, basically they look at the Bible as a socialist screed is the way they look at it. But whose responsibility is it to feed kids? I mean, stop and think about this just for a moment. Whose responsibility is it to feed kids? It's the responsibility of parents to feed kids. It is not the responsibility of government to feed kids. Now, we understand that parents can get into trouble through no fault of their own, and they're going to need help. Where do families go to feed their kids? Where should they go? What's the safety net biblically when a family gets to a place where they're in genuine financial need? Well, the first place they go is to family. That's what family is for. The first safety net is the family. And so families come to each other's aid. We've done that for people in our family. You've done that for people in your family. You might have received help from people in your family one time or another. That's what families are for. Families are safety net number one. Now, if your family is unable to do so, now it's one thing if they're unwilling. I learned when I was pastoring, look, if a family is unwilling to help, they refuse to help, then I knew that I needed to find out why. Because and in some cases, not in every case, but in some cases, it turned out that I was dealing with somebody who was simply cadging off their family. They were sponging off their family. They were capable of taking care of themselves. They were capable of providing for themselves. They were capable of working with their own two hands. They just didn't want to. And so their families then were subsidizing their irresponsibility until their families got tired of doing that. Then they threw in the towel and said, I've had it with you. I'm not going to give you any more money. Then they would come to the church. And so when I found out that families were unwilling to help, I said, look, I've got to get more information here because there may be a character issue that needs to be dealt with. Maybe the best help I can give this individual is help with character issues because that's what they need. They need to understand the importance of taking care of themselves, of self-reliance, stepping up to the plate and trusting God to help them take care of themselves. Maybe that's the best thing I can do for them. If I just give them another handout, I'm simply feeding that false sense of dependency. Now, there are other cases where you clearly have needs, and it's not due to the fault of the family. It may be losing a job because a company downsizes or a plant lays off people, and they can't control that. That's out of their control. There's a legitimate, genuine need there. And we as a church, we had a food cupboard. Most churches do. And we had boxes of basic essential foodstuffs that we picked. We put them in these boxes so that we knew that families would have a healthy, balanced meal if they consumed what was in that box, that they and their family, their children, would be taken care of. There weren't any Cokes in there. Wasn't any instant pizza in there. It was just basic foodstuffs. We wanted to see them taken care of. And it was available for free because we had people that wanted to take care of the poor in our church. They were willing to voluntarily provide of their own resources to see that the needy were taken care of. So God's safety net is number one, the family, and number two, the family of faith. That is God's safety net. And so what we believe, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, what we believe is that compassion is giving away your own money. What liberals believe is that compassion is giving away other people's money. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not compassion. That's not generosity. It is theft. Now, Jeff, let's play soundbite A8. This is Charlie Rangel getting into the mood, again, trashing and violating the separation of church and state and turning the Bible into a socialist creed. Let's listen.
And I don't care whether you're Catholic or Protestant, Jew or Gentile, Mormon. This is the time. Anyone that's familiar with the Bible, anything like that, when Jesus said that you're going straight to hell if you didn't treat the less of his brothers and sisters, and what did he say? He said he was hungry, didn't give him food stamps, he was thirsty, you didn't purify the water, that he was naked, and you didn't give him Social Security, and God knows he was sick, and you gave him no comfort. Can you imagine if 60 million Catholics became missionaries just for the poor, the sick, and the uninsured, and then the Jewish community and the Protestant community? Nobody likes that the Congress is doing nothing. A handful of people who drank the Kool-Aid is ruining our country, and the moral compass, it shouldn't be us going to them. They have been called by a higher authority. I think this is the beginning of a new era. I really hope and pray that it is.
That's Charlie Rangel, hoping and praying. Gone is the separation of church and state when he can use the Bible as a cudgel to compel people to cooperate with socialism and government tyranny. Then he's fine with obliterating the separation between church and state. But you know, Rangel destroyed his own argument in the first line of when he started talking about the Bible. And here's how he does it. Anyone who is familiar with the Bible, Rangel said, should know that Jesus said you're going to hell if you don't treat the lesser of his brothers and sisters with compassion. Well, Rangel just gave away the whole game right there. Jesus said if you don't treat the lesser of your brothers and sisters. Jesus didn't say you're going to hell if the government doesn't treat them in a certain way. You're going to hell if you, as an individual, as a person, if you have no compassion for those that are less fortunate than yourself, you don't have a desire to actually do something to alleviate their suffering, if you don't treat your brothers and sisters like that, then you are the one that's in danger of going to hell. Not a word in there. Not one single solitary word about government or directed to government. Jesus did not direct those words to government. He directed them, well, frankly, directed them to Charlie Rangel. So the question for Charlie Rangel is, how much money have you provided out of your own wallet to give to the poor? Because we in the Christian church, we believe in the redistribution of wealth. We just believe, as Jesus did, in the voluntary redistribution of wealth. Back in 2.